Stepmom made me a cup of coffee that had a strange smell. "You drink it, I'll be back soon," she said. So I switched cups with my stepsister, and when she drank it, 20 minutes later. I never trusted my stepmother. Not from the first day I met her, and certainly not after she married my father. She had this way of smiling at him like he was the best thing that ever happened to her, but the second his back was turned, that smile disappeared, especially when she looked at me. She never wanted me around. I was just an inconvenience, a reminder that my father had a life before her. She never said it outright, but she made it clear in every other way. I only went to her house to see my dad. He was a surgeon, always busy, always working. When he was home, it was all about them, his new wife and their daughter, Kelly. He never had time for me separately, and honestly, I think that's the way my stepmother wanted it. If I wanted to spend time with him, I had no choice but to go to her house. Every time I went over, it was the same. Awkward conversations, constant tension, and Kelly acting like I was invading her space. She was just like her mother, spoiled, manipulative, and always ready to pick a fight. We never got along. She hated me, and I wasn't much of a fan of hers either. That day, my stepmother called me out of the blue. She said she needed to talk to me about something important, and that I needed to come over while my dad was at work. She wouldn't say what it was. Just that it was serious. I didn't trust her. Not even a little. But curiosity got the better of me. When I got there, she was nice. That alone was strange. She wasn't the type to pretend to be nice to me unless my dad was around, and he wasn't. She smiled, told me to sit down, and said she'd make me some coffee. That's when I knew something was wrong. She never did anything for me. Not unless there was a reason. I sat at the table and watched her move around the kitchen, too smooth, too quiet. After a few minutes, she set a cup in front of me. "Drink it, I'll be right back," she said. She didn't sit with me. She didn't wait for me to take a sip. She just set it down and walked away. I hesitated before picking up the cup. The smell hit me first, something bitter, something wrong. I looked down and noticed that something at the bottom hadn't dissolved. A thick, gritty residue. I wasn't paranoid by nature, but my gut was screaming at me. Before I could react, Kelly burst in. "Mom, make me one too," she whined. She barely looked at me, just plopped down in the chair across from me like I wasn't even there. Typical. My stepmother didn't answer right away. She looked uncertain, as if she was thinking about something. Then she sighed and went back into the kitchen. A minute later she returned with another cup. But instead of putting it down, she just held it. She looked at me, then at Kelly, then back to the cup in her hand. Something was going on in her mind. I could see it. Then suddenly she put it down. "I have to go out for a few minutes," she said. And just like that, she was gone. I stared at the two cups. That hesitation. The way she had looked at me before handing me mine. The strange smell. The undissolved residue at the bottom. Something wasn't right. I switched them. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was being paranoid. But I wasn't taking any chances. A few minutes later, Kelly finally looked up from her phone and grabbed the cup I had switched. She took a sip, made a face, then took another sip. "This tastes weird," she muttered. I didn't say anything. Just watched. Another sip. Then another. 5 minutes passed. She rubbed her forehead. "Ugh, why do I feel so dizzy?" I sat up straighter. Kelly blinked a few times, as if she was having trouble concentrating. Then she looked at me, confusion all over her face. "Did you put something in there?" she accused. Her voice was lower now, as if she was losing energy. Were you trying to poison me?" "I didn't mean to." She never finished the sentence. Her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. I barely caught her before she hit the ground. For a second, I just stood there, my heart pounding in my chest. Kelly was a dead weight in my arms, her body completely limp. This wasn't just dizziness. She was out. I shook her. "Kelly! Hey, wake up!" Nothing. Panic kicked in, but at the same time my instincts kicked in. I lowered her to the floor and tapped her face. Still nothing. Her breathing was shallow, her skin unnaturally pale. I looked at the coffee cup on the table. The same one my stepmother had given me. Holy shit. The realization hit me like a truck. I should be the one on the floor right now. I was still processing it when the front door swung open and my stepmother came back in. She took one look at Kelly on the floor and immediately started screaming. What did you do to her? Before I could get a word out, she grabbed her phone. I'm calling the cops. And your father? Right now! I was still kneeling next to Kelly, my mind racing. If the cops showed up, what would they think? Her daughter was unconscious. I was the only one here, and my stepmother was already accusing me. This was bad. Really bad. I had to think fast. You think I did this? I snapped. You made the coffee! She froze for a second. A tiny second. But I saw it. That moment of hesitation. Then she doubled back. I made your coffee. She drank yours. You probably did something to it when I left the room. My hands clenched into fists. She was good. Too good. She wasn't just playing the victim, she was turning the whole thing on me so smoothly, as if she'd already planned for this possibility. She held the phone to her ear. Yes, I need an ambulance. My daughter, she's unconscious. And dash. She turned away slightly. I think my stepson has poisoned her. I swear my blood turned to ice. She was setting me up. I looked at Kelly. Her breathing was weak, but at least she was still alive. I had no idea what she had ingested, but I couldn't let my stepmother pin it on me. My dad. He was the only one who would believe me. I shot to my feet. Call Dad. Now. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. Then she turned and continued talking into the phone, her voice shaking, playing the perfect worried mother. I didn't wait. I took out my own phone and called him myself. He answered on the second ring. Steve? What's wrong? I didn't even think. It's Kelly. She fainted. Mom made coffee and she drank mine instead. There was a pause. A long one. Then my dad's voice, eerily calm. I'm on my way. I hung up. My stepmother was still on the phone with 911, pacing the room, fake tears in her voice. There was nothing I could do now but wait. Minutes passed like hours. Then the sirens. First an ambulance. Then a police car. Paramedics rushed in. The cops followed. My stepmother pointed to me before anyone said a word. It was him. He did something to her. I held my breath as the officers turned to me. The cops looked at me, then at Kelly, who was lying on the floor. The paramedics were already checking her vitals, their faces unreadable. My stepmother wasted no time playing the hysterical mother. He poisoned her. I walked in and saw him standing over her. He even admitted she drank his coffee. I clenched my jaw. She was good, but I wasn't going down without a fight. One of the officers, a big guy with a serious face, walked up to me. Son, what happened here? I took a deep breath. She's lying. I turned to the paramedics. Is she breathing? One of them looked up. She's alive, but her heart rate is slow. We have to get her to the hospital. I turned back to the officer. I didn't poison her. My stepmom made me coffee. But something was wrong with it, so I switched our cups. Kelly drank mine. The officer frowned. So you're saying you were the target? My stepmother gasped as if I had just slapped her. Are you serious? You're actually listening to him? He hates us. Of course he's trying to pin this on me. One of the cops motioned for her to step back. Ma'am, let us do our job. I kept my eyes on the interrogating officer. Look, I don't expect you to just take my word for it. But if you test that coffee, I bet you'll find something in it. Something she put there. The tension in the room was thick. My stepmother was still putting on a show, wiping fake tears from her face, but I could tell she was nervous. She hadn't expected me to turn it on her. The front door burst open. My dad. He was still in his scrubs, as if he had left the hospital in a hurry. His eyes darted to Kelly, then to me, then to my stepmother. What happened? My stepmother ran to him, immediately switching her performance from blaming me to seeking comfort. Steve poisoned Kelly. I don't know why, but he dash. That's a lie, I interrupted. My father held up a hand. Enough. His voice was sharp, the kind of voice that made even the cops back off. He turned to the paramedics. How is she? We're taking her to the hospital now, one of them said. Dad nodded and looked at me again. Tell me everything. Right now, I exhaled. She called me over, said she had something important to talk about. When I got here, she was strangely nice. Made me coffee. I paused. But it smelled off. There was something in it. Then Kelly came in and asked for coffee, too. When my stepmother made hers, she hesitated before putting it down. As soon as she left the room, I switched them. Kelly drank mine. I could see my dad's brain working, putting the pieces together. Then the policeman next to me spoke. Sir, we need to take a statement from you as well. There are serious allegations here. Dad nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on my stepmother. Then I suggest you test the coffee. If there's anything in it that shouldn't be, I want to know. For the first time since this whole mess started, my stepmother actually looked scared. Everything happened quickly after that. The paramedics took Kelly to the hospital, and I could see how pale she was as they loaded her onto the gurney. She wasn't just passed out, whatever was in that coffee had really messed her up. The cops took the cup for evidence. One of them even told my stepmother that everyone in the house was under suspicion until they found out what was in it. That shut her up for a while. My dad didn't say a word to her. Not a word. He just grabbed his keys and told me to get in the car. We drove to the hospital in complete silence. When we got there, Kelly was already in a room, hooked up to monitors. A doctor was talking to the nurses and looking at her chart. My dad marched right over. What's wrong with her? The doctor recognized him right away. Dr. Carter, he said, looking surprised. She's showing signs of poisoning. We're running tests to confirm what it was, but whatever she ingested slowed her heart rate and dropped her blood pressure. She was minutes away from something much worse. My father's face didn't change, but I knew him well enough to see the tension in his jaw. Will she recover? She should be fine, the doctor said. We caught it in time. Dad nodded, but he didn't look relieved. He looked angry. He turned to me. You switched the cups? I nodded. Yes. Something was wrong with mine. That was when he knew. My dad wasn't stupid. He had spent his entire career saving lives. He knew the symptoms, he knew what poisoning looked like, and most importantly, he knew that if I had poisoned Kelly, I wouldn't have switched the cups. I saw it in his face. He believed me. But he didn't say it. Not yet. Instead, he just said, "Go sit with your sister." That word sister was different. He had never called Kelly that before in reference to me. I went into her room and sat down. She looked small in that hospital bed. Too small. Even though we had never gotten along, I had never seen her like this. I didn't know how to feel. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, my father came back in. He sat down across from me and let out a slow breath. The cops tested the coffee. I swallowed. And it was poisoned. I felt my stomach drop. They don't know what with yet, but there was something in it. Enough to make you sick. Maybe worse. I barely had time to process that before he added, "Your stepmother is still in the house. She doesn't know we have the results yet." I sat up straight. "What are you going to do?" My father's expression hardened. "I'm going to make her talk." I had never seen my father like this. He was always the calm, collected type, the guy who dealt with life and death situations every day without breaking a sweat. But now, he was furious. He walked out of the hospital without another word, and I knew exactly where he was going. I stayed with Kelly. She was still unconscious, but the doctors said she was stable. I sat there staring at her, feeling a strange mixture of guilt and relief. Guilt because she was only in that bed because I switched the cups. Relief that I wasn't the one lying there hooked up to machines. Time passed slowly. I had no idea what was going on in the house, but I knew my father. He wasn't going to let this go. Then my phone rang. It was him. "Come home," he said. His voice was tense. I didn't ask any questions. I just got up and left. When I got to the house, my stepmother was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, face pale. My dad was standing over her, hands on his hips, looking at her like she was something disgusting stuck to his shoe. I had never seen her look so trapped. Dad turned to me. "Sit down." I did. Then he looked back at her. "Tell him what you just told me." She hesitated. I could see her jaw clenching, as if debating whether to lie again. Then, finally, she spoke. "I didn't mean for this to happen." My stomach twisted. Dad didn't say anything. He was waiting. She swallowed hard. I love you. I love us. And he..." She shot me a look, her eyes cold. "He's always been in the way." The way she said it made my skin crawl. Like I wasn't even a person to her. She looked back at my father. "We had a life before he kept showing up. Before he started taking your attention away from us." My dad's face was unreadable. "So you decided to kill him?" Her lips trembled. I thought maybe if he wasn't around, things would go back to the way they were before." I felt sick. Dad's voice was deadly calm. "You poisoned my son." She shook her head quickly. "I just wanted him to get sick. Just enough so he wouldn't come around. I didn't mean to kill him." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Yeah? Well, congratulations. You almost killed your own daughter instead." She flinched. For the first time, I saw real horror in her eyes. As if she hadn't fully processed it until that moment. Dad stepped forward and lowered his voice. "This is what's going to happen." She looked up at him, frantic. "Please." He cut her off. "You're going to tell the police exactly what you just told me. And if you don't dash..." He leaned closer. "You'll never see another dime of mine. No money. No house. No nothing." She became completely still. Dad sighed. "But if you confess, I'll make sure the truth stays between us and the police. No press. No public humiliation. Just you taking responsibility for what you did." It was the only offer she would get. She hesitated for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "Okay." There was silence for a second. My stepmother sat there, pale and trembling, having whispered that single word, "Okay." She had no idea that my father had planned this. The moment she admitted to poisoning me, to wanting me gone, he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and stopped the recording. Her face contorted in confusion. "What?" Dad turned the screen toward her, hit play, and we all heard her confession echo through the room. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I just love you. I thought maybe things would go back to the way they were when he wasn't around." Her own voice. Clear as day. It turned white. "You..." Dad cut her off. "I told you to confess to the police. You did just not the way you thought you would." I watched her panic. She looked between me and my dad and realized she had been completely played. She reached out, maybe thinking she could grab the phone, but Dad took a step back. "It's already backed up," he said coldly. "Even if you break the phone, it won't change anything." She began to breathe harder. You said this would stay between us." He crossed his arms. I lied. She opened her mouth as if to scream, but no sound came out. Then he walked past her, straight to his office. I followed. He sat down at his desk, opened his email, and within seconds sent the recording to the police, his lawyer, and just for good measure a local news station. "Now everyone knows," he said, staring at the screen. She was still in the doorway, frozen. He turned to me. She's going to jail. But I want her to lose everything first. I had never seen my father like that. Cold. Merciless. He picked up the phone again and called his attorney. I want to sue her for attempted murder, he said, his voice flat. And I want full control of the house, my accounts, and anything else she thinks she's entitled to. She tried to take my son. I want to make sure she never has the chance to take anything again. I just stood there and watched my stepmother fall apart. She was hyperventilating, shaking her head, muttering, "No, no, no," as if she could somehow undo everything that had just happened. She couldn't. The next morning it was over. The police had everything they needed: the toxicology report, the poisoned coffee, and most importantly, the recording of my stepmother admitting that she wanted me gone. There was no way out for her. My dad made sure of that. The press ate it up. News outlets ran the story with headlines like, "Doctor's wife arrested for attempted murder of stepson, accidentally poisons own daughter instead." Reporters showed up at the house, and my father gave a statement making it clear that he wasn't protecting her. That he was going to make sure that she paid for what she had done. When they arrested her, she went completely crazy. She screamed that it was all a lie, that I was the manipulator, that my dad was turning everyone against her. But it didn't matter. The evidence spoke for itself. She was charged with attempted murder, and because she confessed, the sentence was lighter than it should have been: 4 years instead of 8. 4 years in prison. 4 years to sit and think about how she threw it all away. Meanwhile, Kelly woke up. I was sitting in the hospital room when she finally opened her eyes. She looked at me, confused, her voice weak. "What happened?" I hesitated, then said, "You've been poisoned." She frowned, still groggy. "Poisoned?" I sighed. "Yes. Mom put something in my coffee. I switched our cups." It took a second for that to sink in. Then I saw it the moment she understood. Her whole body tensed. "Mom did that?" I nodded. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared at the ceiling, processing. Then, slowly, she turned to me. "You knew something was wrong. That's why you switched them." "Yes." She swallowed hard. "So, if I hadn't asked for coffee, you'd be in this bed?" I nodded again. She closed her eyes for a moment, and took a shaky breath. "Where is she now?" "Jail." She winced, but I could tell she wasn't surprised. Then she finally whispered, "I hate her." And for once, I didn't argue with her. A few days later, Kelly was released from the hospital. My dad didn't waste any time helping her find a place of her own, a small rented apartment in the city, away from all the memories of what had happened. He paid for everything, told her she didn't have to worry about anything. He just wanted her to be well. Before she left, we sat together in the living room, the house feeling emptier than ever. She looked at me for a long time and finally said, "I don't hate you." I blinked. "I mean, I did," she admitted. "For a long time. But you were also just a victim in all of this." She looked down at her hands. "And I guess if you hadn't been suspicious, I'd be dead right now." I didn't know what to say. She sighed. "I still lost 13 pounds in the hospital, by the way. So thanks for that." I grinned. "Not my fault you drank my coffee." She rolled her eyes, but for the first time in years, they weren't hostile. And just like that, we weren't enemies anymore. My stepmother lost everything: her family, her freedom, her life as she knew it. My father never spoke to her again. And Kelly? She moved on. She lived her life without the woman who tried to kill me, and almost killed her instead. And me? I finally had a family that didn't hate me,